Functional fitness evaluations are the newest trend in heavy industry. The driving force behind this movement is a long-standing history of musculoskeletal injuries that accounted for more claims than any other injury over the last decade. Canadian Occupational Safety sat down with Can-Am's occupational health manager, Dan Demers, to discuss the emerging trend.
Organizations are realizing that recruitment these days is essentially more of an investment than it ever has been in the past. And as a consequence of that, they're trying to look for more objective tools to make sure that they're recruiting the right people. And by the right people, I mean they're not relying on their intuition. So they're not expected to be able to just simply judge a book by its cover to see whether they can do the functional requirements of the job. They're hiring the wrong people. They're looking at Superman or Superwoman thinking that they can do everything the job requires, and when indeed they can't bend over for prolonged periods of time. Or they discard somebody that at first glance maybe doesn't look like they can do the job, but they're actually quite more suited for the job than anybody else was. So employers are recognizing that their intuitive judgments of people's functional abilities just are not adequate. And because recruitment is a serious commitment, they're looking to make sure that they have better tools to do that effectively.
There are three factors that have led the implementation of functional fitness evaluations that are meant to increase safety in the workplace.
Employers are expected to protect the worker from harm. And it's a very broad requirement of the employer. The second reason is there's a lot of focus on a certain safety statistic that's being required for attaining new work, which is the lost time injury frequency rate. And we're seeing that a lot of the contributing statistics to that factor is musculoskeletal injuries and these sorts of things. And the third thing is we're finding that employers are trying to be more mindful of matching their employees to the jobs that they're capable of doing because there is a work shortage. So they're trying to make sure that they're recruiting the right people, doing the right tasks, and that they're not causing them to get injured just by the work that they've been asked to do. So ensuring that they're doing work that they can perform safely. A fitness evaluation would typically be about 60 minutes in length. It includes a questionnaire to look at history of injury, history of work, as well as a basic biometric evaluation to make sure the person's blood pressure and heart rate are not at a point where it would prevent them from doing any functional activities. And the rest of the evaluation is essentially testing to see that the individual can lift and produce the same requirements of the job. So the functional actions that are required in that particular role.
Fitness evaluations can differ amongst industries.
The functional testing needs to be tailored to the position. And if it's not tailored to the position, then it needs to be tailored to the class of positions as it's defined under the National Occupational Classification System. So you can expect to see a different evaluation within the same industry sector or across industry sectors, depending on what the employer is trying to accomplish. So if they're trying to be as vigilant as they can in ensuring a person is clear for work, then you're going to see a big contrast in what's required to get on the job within their organization as compared to others.
The fitness evaluation test is generally offered following a conditional offer of employment, but it can be tricky to manage because not all potential employees may meet set fitness standards.
It's entirely up to the company as to how they treat those scenarios. What we've seen is employers, because they're developing these programs when there's an occupational requirement to do so, there's a bona fide occupational requirement to do so, that what they will do is they'll have the individual's name put into a duty to accommodate pool, followed by an oversight committee, a duty to accommodate oversight committee, and they'll be reconsidered into the hiring pool for a position that becomes available. They'll have the first crack at it, provided that they can meet the functional and minimum requirements of that position. So they have usually a policy that guides how they treat those scenarios, and that's sort of how it typically works.